It's not good to have you around. From now on, you will live alone in this house. Soon after the baby was born, my husband brought me to a shabby apartment near his parents' house. No, I can't live here by myself. This is crazy. Give my baby back. Quiet, Kelly. You're disturbing the neighbors. My mother-in-law, standing by my husband's side, ignored my plea with a stern expression, and I was at my wit's end, helpless to do anything about it. And to make matters worse, my mother-in-law behaved in the most unthinkable way. She started leaving food scrap in front of that shabby apartment every day. With nowhere to throw it away, the bags of garbage piled up. Then, I opened one of them and found something I couldn't believe. I'm Kelly, a 33-year-old housewife. My husband Walter and I have been married for 3 years. We were looking forward to the birth of our first child. But the birth of the baby was accompanied by anxiety. The reason was Walter's extravagant spending and temperamental nature, and my relationship with my mother-in-law. My father-in-law has already passed away and lived with my mother-in-law. But my mother-in-law and I don't get along, and she's always sarcastic. What? The way you folded the laundry? It will get weird wrinkles like this. Why can't you even do it properly? Just do it again. But the other day, you told me to fold them like this? What? You're blaming me? Then my mother-in-law knocks the laundry I folded onto the floor. She is very thorough and picky in her housework, and she changes what she says almost every time. Then she complains about it as if it's my fault. Kelly, why are you such a bad learner? And when my husband overhears me talking with my mother-in-law, he gets in a bad mood. What the hell is wrong with you? Put yourself in my shoes, coming from work and having to listen to this all the time. He would hit things and yell at me. Walter is cold towards me, but for some reason, he is very obsessed with me. I have a cell phone, but the only contacts I have are with Walter and my in-laws. My internet browsing is constantly monitored. And of course, he's using GPS to track my location. Even before we got married, I knew he was a jealous person. But after we got married, I started to think about divorce because his jealousy just got worse. One day, I went shopping and called the lawyer's office from a payphone. I explained the situation to the lawyer and somehow started to work toward divorce. Fortunately, I had some savings before our marriage, and the lawyer was sympathetic to my situation. Let's make sure the divorce goes through. As for the remuneration, you can pay me in installments once you have a stable living situation, the lawyer kindly said to me. I thought that the divorce was proceeding smoothly. Then one day, I noticed that I had not been feeling well for several days. I rushed to the hospital and found out that I was pregnant. I had been taking pills to avoid pregnancy in order to get a divorce, but my husband hid them from the divorce. I must have gotten pregnant then. I was torn between joy at having a child and anger at him. My parents had already passed away, so I had no home to go back to. In addition, my morning sickness was so severe that I was unable to take any action for divorce. Walter seemed convinced that having a child would keep me from running away. Or maybe he's just really happy to have a child, and he's softened his attitude. We'll have to remodel this house. If it's a boy, he should be an athlete. And if it's a girl, we'll have to raise her to be a good wife and a wise mother. My husband says these things and develops selfish theories about education. I thought to myself, I'll divorce you after the baby is born, though. I gave a vague answer and let it slide for a while. My mother-in-law was as mean as ever toward me, but there was a slight change in her attitude. If something happens to you, the neighbors will misunderstand that I did something to you. So, Kelly, stop worrying and concentrate on the baby. Huh. Why did Walter even marry this woman? You know, Kelly, honestly, I want you to leave. But I'll take care of you until the baby is born. Somehow, I was able to rest because she didn't force me to do the housework like before. My morning sickness was pretty bad. What the hell, Kelly? Where can you eat that? It was such a pain in the ass. My mother-in-law kept complaining to me, but she did make meals for me. But in the end, I almost became malnourished, and I had to spend some time in the hospital before the baby was born. And I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. I was about to contact a lawyer to get a divorce from Walter when I noticed that my bank book was missing. Moreover, my diary, which I had intended to hand over to the lawyer, was also missing. It has a record of harassment from Walter and my mother-in-law. Walter? I heard Walter's voice behind me. Is this what you're looking for? I turned around to see Walter standing there, grinning and holding the diary I had hidden away. What on earth were you writing in it? Even look in it. Give it back. Shut up. What the hell were you doing behind my back, Kelly? I'm preparing for a divorce. I can't live with people like you any longer. Someone who breaks things and yells and tries to subdue me. Divorce me, please? It wasn't exactly what I had planned, but I made up my mind to ask him for a divorce. Divorce? Yeah, I can do that. But will you drink it? With that, Walter took me by the hand and walked past me. He drove me to a shabby apartment near my parents-in-law's house. It's not good to have you alone. From now on, you will live alone in this house. As long as you live here, I'll let you see your kid once a week. But if you leave, you'll never see him again. No, this is crazy. Give my baby back. Then my mother-in-law came out from behind him and said to me, Quiet, Kelly. You are disturbing the neighbors. My mother-in-law is holding my son. I'm looking at my son's face in her arms, and I'm trying to think. I have to get out of this situation somehow. I thought desperately, but no answer came to me. In the meantime, I was stuck in that shabby apartment. Walter had found out while I was in the hospital that I was planning to get a divorce. He had taken my baby hostage. I now had no choice but to live in the shabby apartment. A few days later, things turned an unexpected way. I noticed a strange odor wafting through the air. I looked for the source of the smell and found, and there was a garbage dumped in front of the apartment. I couldn't believe my eyes, but I soon realized that it was my mother-in-law. I looked up and saw my mother-in-law standing in front of the door with my son in her arms. Oh, Kelly, you just woke up? Just because we are taking care of your baby doesn't mean you are not a responsible mother? Well, that's alright. Can you leave them at your place until garbage day? Huh? What on earth does this person want? I tried my best to wrap my head around my mother-in-law's nonsensical behavior. First of all, I have to get the child back and contact a lawyer. That's what I thought. And somehow I managed to find an opportunity to do so. A few days passed in the meantime. Meanwhile, every morning there was a garbage dumped in front of my room. What did I do to deserve this? I was getting angry. As I was about to carry the garbage bag, I noticed that the bag was transparent, whereas it was usually black. And when I looked at the bag, I found an envelope inside. It was labeled "To Kelly." I immediately took out the envelope and looked inside. There were some $100 bills and a letter from my mother-in-law. The letter said something I had never expected. "I am so sorry for everything I have done. I knew my son had issues. I wanted you to escape, so I was hard on you. I'm really sorry that I had no choice but to behave like that, because Walter's surveillance was there to treat. I'm also sorry that I could only give you this much money on Walter's watch." Hold on. "I received a call from your lawyer yesterday. I couldn't tell him the details. He said he would visit us tomorrow at noon. So please take the baby." And he ran away. Leave the rest to me. I'm so sorry, Kelly. I hope you understand. The letter from my mother-in-law was written in blurred letters, as if she had written it while crying. I realized for the first time that my mother-in-law was also my husband's victim. I checked the other garbage bags, and amazed at the contents, I found envelopes in the other bags as well, containing cash. I realized that my mother-in-law was trying to take care of me all this time. I learned that she was being as kind as she could be in letting me see my baby under Walter's watch. Because of Walter's personality, even if she was his mother, he probably looked down on my mother-in-law because she was a woman. In addition to the cash, the envelope also contained several photographs of my baby. I cried as I felt my mother-in-law's concern for me. I gathered my thoughts for the next day's meeting with the lawyer and went to sleep. The next day, I woke up to the sound of the doorbell. When I answered it, I found my mother-in-law standing there, holding my son in her arms. "Walter is going on a business trip today and won't be back for 2 days. This may be your last chance. Gilly, I'm so sorry for everything." My mother-in-law bows repeatedly to me as she holds out my son to me. But what about you? Walter will get furious with you if you're gone." "That would be true, but he's my son. It's my responsibility. Besides, I can't even work at my age. I am too stupid to make a living without Walter's help." No, that's just... I decided to invite my mother-in-law in and listen to her carefully. She told me that her husband and Walter had brainwashed her over the years. "You can't do anything." As they imprint these words, she spent most of her life only for the two of them. Because of this, she has lived a life without freedom for a long time. She was not even allowed to watch TV when her husband was alive. After he passed away, she realized something was wrong with her life from a TV show she was watching, but she couldn't even get out of it on her own. Then I came along as her daughter-in-law. My mother-in-law was trying to get rid of me by hinting me coldly so that I wouldn't follow in her footsteps. She told me this in tears. "Let's run away together so that Walter won't ruin the rest of your life, okay?" My mother-in-law responds to my persuasion with confusion. "But no, there's no way I can do that. I can't do anything. I don't want to cut in your way, Kelly." My mother-in-law would not. Meanwhile, my lawyer arrived. I told him the whole truth. The lawyer had a rather grim expression on his face. "What do you want to do? Please tell me how you really feel. I'll do my best to support you." After a few moments of silence, my mother-in-law told us what was on her mind. "The truth is, I want to get away from Walter. I love him because he's my child, but it's too painful, living in constant denial about my life. It's also hard that I won't be able to see my grandson anymore. And with that story, she showed us the bruises on her arms. The bruises were so bad that I was surprised, and I asked my mother-in-law about it. She said that Walter became violent with her when he got angry at the babies crying at night. She said Walter had often been violent to her, even before our marriage. The lawyer's face was clearly filled with anger. You should run away. I'll show him the pain. You too. Run away from this immediately. He began to persuade her to leave, but his effort to persuade her were in vain, and she went straight back to her house. A lawyer and I decided to get ready to run away. I called my cousin's house, told her what had happened, and asked her to move in for a while. My cousin, in tears, accepted. I quickly packed up, took the baby, and headed for my cousin's house. A few days later, I got a call from my lawyer. He asked me if I could be willing to participate in a meeting to discuss my divorce from Walter. During this call, I was told by the lawyer that my mother-in-law would also be attending the meeting. When I visited the lawyer's office, Walter and my mother-in-law were already there. When Walter saw me, he said, "I was worried about you. I'll kick her out if it's about my mom. So, the three of us will live together from now on. Okay?" I ignored him and sat down. Our lawyer started talking about divorce, alimony, and child support. Meanwhile, Walter was screaming at me to come back. "Walter, the lawyer is speaking now. It's important. Can't you even listen?" When I replied, Walter's face turned red, as if he was about to go berserk. But he seemed to be holding back in front of the lawyer. After the lawyer had explained everything, and the conversation had settled down, my husband opened his mouth. "What's the matter with you? Why can't you understand that I love you so much? Do you really think you can get a divorce or over something like this?" Walter asked me. "Huh? Don't make me laugh. I've never felt any love from you. I've got a full tie to the outside wall, and I've been doing you a week day by day. Why are you so selfish?" I replied with a laugh, and Walter stood up. The lawyer said quickly, "Walter, please sit down." My husband sat back down in his chair and opened his mouth to my mother-in-law. "Kelly is leaving because of you? How about you see something? What do you think you were doing? Giving money without consulting me and ruin my child's happiness." My mother-in-law replies, "I'm just trying to save his life and happiness." Saying that, my mother-in-law held out the recorder. It was a recording of Walter's sarcasm and horrible words toward me. My mother-in-law had been preparing for this day since before I was pregnant. With this much evidence, even if we go to court, the divorce will be final. Do you agree to the divorce here and now? Or do you want a divorce after he goes to court and the company and others find out about it? Which would you prefer? The lawyer combined all my evidence and confronted Walter about the divorce. Then Walter said, as if he had given up the idea, "Oh, okay. I'm divorcing you." Nodding his head, he agreed to the divorce. "I will never see you again." As I said this, my mother-in-law opened her mouth, as if to put an end to it. I've been putting up with this for a long time, but I'm glad it's over. Walter, I'm leaving you. I'm going to live on my own. As she said, holding out a piece of paper. Don't get involved with me anymore. Otherwise, I'll take this and file a police report. The paper was medical certificate for my mother-in-law's injuries inflicted by Walter. And then the lawyer tells him matter-of-factly, "Your mother is fully prepared to file a lawsuit." Then Walter started to cry. "Mom, why did you betray me too?" At the sound of Walter's grief, my mother-in-law's face contorted for a moment. "Betray you? Isn't it betrayal to violate a family member? How can you cry without understanding what you have done? We have been living in hell for a long time," I said to him too, and stared at my husband. I took my mother-in-law's hand and left the office. After a while, my mother-in-law sold the family house. She moved to the countryside, relying on her relatives. Since her husband had left her a substantial inheritance, she was going to spend the rest of her life in comfort. As for me, after my divorce from Walter was finalized, I found a job far away from here. Now, with the help of others, I'm leading a new life with my son. I almost ruined my life with this marriage. There's no need to get used to the absurdities. I want my son to be a gentle person who compassion and kindness to those around me.